I could not help but laugh despite my personal discomfort. I could not help but laugh yesterday hysterically as a bunch of people on the left went out into the streets of New York and decided to aimlessly scream at the sky. No, I am not kidding. It was the 1-year anniversary of President Trump winning. If you want to see my reaction to President Trump winning, all you have to do is go to YouTube and Google Shapiro laughing for 2 minutes, because that's exactly what happened. We covered it on election night. And Bill Whittle, a friend of ours, he said President Trump, and it struck me for just a moment how ridiculous and hilarious that is, and also that Hillary had lost. And I just started laughing, and I couldn't stop laughing for a fully 2 minutes. It's pretty great. But that is not how everyone reacted. A bunch of folks on the left were heartbroken. They're still heartbroken, and they've lost their minds. So yesterday in New York City, people gathered to scream at the sky. Okay, now, these are probably the same people who say thoughts and prayers are useless, right? Same people who say you shouldn't say thoughts and prayers when something bad happens. Now they are gathering to scream at a sky where there is no God, presumably. And I could not help it but laugh hysterically at this. That lady trying out for the Met Opera, but I do love it. You're gonna get together and scream at the sky. Yeah, that's gonna win. That's gonna make you guys win. Now, it is true that the anger of the left is gonna drive them to the polls more often. I mean, that's sort of what you saw in Virginia. But if they think that this is an attractive feature, that they're going to win elections because they scream at the sky, then I think not. But for the left, they believe that their anger is its own justification. So there are a couple of columns that I want to talk about today that demonstrate just how far gone the left is when it comes to policy and politics. Now, it is possible that the Republicans can be bad enough at this to blow whatever advantages they have. It seems like that's what they're in the business of doing. We'll talk about what they're doing with their tax plan in just a second. And we'll also talk about President Trump in just a second and the divides inside the conservative movement. But on the left, they've completely lost their minds. And so they feel that the only path back to power is twofold. One, they have to be as angry as possible. And two, they have to re-embrace identity politics. Okay, these are precisely the things that brought them Trump. It is their anger and their identity politics that caused the backlash that brought President Trump. So maybe there's a backlash to the backlash. That's quite possible, right? That there was a backlash to the left's identity politics and rage. And that was brought about in the form of the Tea Party. And President Trump was the culmination of that. It is also possible that there's a backlash to that backlash that's building right now. Whatever it is, it ain't good for the country. Two columns in particular I want to talk about today, both from the horrific New York Times. So the New York Times, as Andrew Klavan calls it, a former newspaper, their op-ed page is filled with joy the last 48 hours. My personal favorite column is from a woman named Lindy West, who writes on feminism and popular culture, which already makes you want to run through a wall so hard that it leaves a U-shaped hole in the wall, like a cartoon. But here is what she says in the pages of the New York Times, and it's called Brave Enough to Be Angry. Really, this is what it's called, Brave Enough to Be Angry, which is like, I didn't realize it takes bravery to be pissed. I really didn't realize this. I like when you just take two emotions. How about angry enough to be brave? How about sad enough to be happy? Like, such nonsense. In any case, here's what the column says, and it's pretty amazing. It says, last month, an Access Hollywood correspondent asked the actress Uma Thurman to comment on abusive power in Hollywood, presumably in light of the sexual assault allegations against the producer Harvey Weinstein. Speaking slowly and deliberately, through gritted teeth, Thurman responded, quote, I don't have a tidy soundbite for you because I've learned I am not a child, and I've learned that when I've spoken in anger, I usually regret the way I express myself. So I've been waiting to feel less angry. When I'm ready, I'll say what I have to say. Thurman is seething, like we all have been seething, in our various states of breaking open, or, as Thurman chooses, waiting. We are seething at how long we've been ignored. Seething for the ones who were told long ago, who were punished long ago for telling the truth. Seething for being told all our lives we have no right to seethe. Has this woman ever met a woman? Has she met, like, a girl? Like, girls get angry. My wife gets mad. My mom gets mad. My sisters get mad. My 3-year-old daughter definitely gets mad. I was unaware that women are not allowed to be angry. Women are definitely not allowed to be angry. It doesn't mean that they're attractive when they're angry, because men aren't attractive when they're angry either. In fact, people generally are not particularly attractive when they're angry. But you're seething at how long you've been ignored? Lady, you're writing in the pages of the New York Times. Being ignored? Okay. So she continues along these lines. Thurman's rage is palpable yet contained, conveying not just the tempestuous depths of #MeToo. God, the writing is so bad. I don't know who edits over at the New York Times. They should be fired immediately. But a profound understanding of the ways that female anger is received and weaponized against women. And now she's going to go explain all the ways that women's anger is not taken seriously. But does she cite sexual assault or rape? Like women who have claimed they were raped or sexually assaulted and are angry about it and people told them to sit down and shut up? No, she doesn't cite any of that because that's never happened. Okay, no one says to women who say they were raped, Why are you so mad? You mad, bro? No one says that to a woman who is raped. You can't name anyone who says that to a woman who is raped. So what are the examples of female anger we've been ignoring? Get ready for this. From Lindy West. Again, this is just indicative of the left's belief that anger is its own justification. Quote, in the past few months alone, we've seen Carmen Yulín Cruz, mayor of San Juan, Puerto Rico, pilloried by the far right for criticizing Donald Trump's anemic response to Hurricane Maria. We are dying here, Cruz told the news media. I am mad as hell. And the Florida Congresswoman Frederica Wilson deluged with abuse after she characterized Trump's call to a military widow, Maisha Johnson, as insensitive as an insult. Both Cruz and Wilson were directly targeted by the president on Twitter, then incessantly memed and regurgitated and redigested and re-memed by his obedient online horde. It's like the Huns out there. Okay, first of all, the cases she just cited are not cases of sexual assault or abuse. In one, the mayor of San Juan went out there and had shirts printed that said, we are dying, so she could go on national television and rip into Trump. No one would have paid attention to her otherwise. And Frederica Wilson went out there and talked out of school about a conversation that really was between a military widow and the president of the United States, and apparently, may have misinterpreted Trump's comments. So all of this is, we were saying, why are these women angry? Not because they were raped or sexually abused, but because they were getting political. We were more angry at what they were doing than their anger. Okay, but the examples continue. She gives the example of Julie Briskman, who's a government contractor who supposedly lost her job after a photo of her flipping off the presidential motorcade went viral. She wasn't fired because she flipped off the motorcade. She was fired because she made that her profile photo on Facebook and Twitter and works for a government contractor. That's why she was fired. Okay, and then here's some other examples of women who have been disrespected and their anger ignored. Again, this is just female identity politics at its best. That if women are angry, we don't have to ask why they're angry or if the anger is justified. We just have to get out of their way and honor their anger. I don't honor anyone's anger. Really, I don't think anger is something to be honored. Not to quote Clavin too much today, but Clavin used a phrase I really like. He says, anger is the devil's cocaine, and I think that's pretty much correct. Okay, here's what it actually is. So here are the other examples of female anger that we have been ignoring. Solange. Yes, really, Solange Knowles. Okay, we weren't ignoring her anger. She was beating the crap out of Jay-Z in an elevator, right? I mean, that's what was happening there. Britney Spears. I don't recall when we were angry at her anger. I just remember her getting, wildly out of control and attempting to beat on a paparazzi. Shanae O'Connor, the Dixie Chicks, Rosie O'Donnell. What does any of this have to do with sexual assault or us disrespecting their anger? Okay, then it says, we don't even have to be angry to be called angry. Accusations of being an angry black woman chased Michelle Obama throughout her tenure at the White House. Well, I mean, to be fair, in 2008, she did say that she was not proud of the country until it nominated her husband. That seems kind of angry to me. And if you watched any of her speeches in 2008, they were kind of angry. Later, she became kind of a model first lady. But at the beginning, she had a very different persona. It was very much like Hillary Clinton in her early years in the White House, and then shifting in her later years to be sort of more soft and cuddly. And then she finishes, the decades-long smearing of Hillary Clinton as an unhinged shrew culminated 1 year ago when, despite maintaining a preternatural calm throughout the most brutal campaign in living memory, she lost the election to masculinity's apoplectic id. Okay, so the smearing of Hillary Clinton as an unhinged shrew is not really a smearing. She's an unhinged shrew. Okay, there have been actual reports of Hillary Clinton throwing lamps at her husband. Okay, Hillary Clinton apparently was not nice to Secret Service members. Hillary Clinton went out and complained about a vast right-wing conspiracy when her husband committed perjury while sexually harassing the help. Hillary Clinton, in this campaign, there's tape of her shouting into camera, why am I not up by 50 points? We all remember when she did a speech calling half the population deplorables. Okay, Hillary Clinton is not a model of preternatural calm. You have to be crazy to think this. And then she says, this is my favorite line. Like every other feminist with a public platform, I am perpetually cast as a disapproving scold. But what's the alternative? To approve? I do not approve. Right, because you're a disapproving scold. I mean, isn't that the definition? You're scolding me and you're disapproving. What am I missing here? And then she says, not only are women expected to weather sexual violence, intimate partner violence, workplace discrimination, institutional subordination, the expectation of free domestic labor, the blame for our own victimization, and all the subtler, invisible cuts that undermine us daily, we are not even allowed to be angry about it. Close your eyes and think of America. Right? It's like America raping you, right? So Lindy West, again, this is endemic to the feminist left, this belief that anger is the driving force and they have a reason to be angry. She says that women are expected to weather sexual violence. Who expects women to weather sexual violence? Really, who is it that says, yeah, women are getting raped, big deal? The only person I can think of is somebody like maybe Gay Talese, the columnist who came out in defense of Kevin Spacey. But who is saying that intimate partner violence is okay? Or workplace discrimination? The expectation of free domestic labor, I don't even know what that means. I expect my wife to actually help with the chores. I help with the chores too. This is part of being an adult. Like, I understand Lindy West doesn't want to wash her underwear, but tough. Like, it's just insane. And finally, she says, we are expected to agree, and we comply with the paternal admonition that it is irresponsible and hyper-emotional to request one female president after 241 years of male ones, because that would be tokenism, anti-democratic, and dangerous, as though generations of white male politicians haven't proven themselves utterly disinterested in caring for the needs of communities to which they do not belong. Okay, so now she's saying that we're sexist if we don't think that you should elect a woman based on her sex, which is sexist, by the way.